My name is Duncan. I'm a Professor of Population Health at AUT, and my research is in getting kids active. So I guess my main drive is to make sure that every kid has the opportunity to be outdoors and active as much as possible, and maybe a little bit less time on screens. So that's basically what I do for my job. Well, I've been involved with Sport Auckland for many years now. Started off in a sort of consultancy manner, but have been involved with them on some projects, particularly the most recent one, the Puketapapa Play project, which is in this school and in other schools around the Mount School region. And so we work quite closely at the moment, trying to make sure that we do the best for the schools around the region to ensure they promote really quality play and physical activity experiences for their kids. We're really hoping that the mahi we're doing in these schools is going to stay with these kids as they come through the school and move on to other schools and eventually have their own kids. The experiences that they have at these schools where they're allowed to roam, they're allowed to get a bit dirty, they're allowed to make mistakes and learn from them. This free play, or risky play as we like to call it, it's really important for kids' development, and if they don't get that at an early age, it sets them back a step as they come towards adulthood. So we're really hoping that the experiences that the 6 or so years the kids spend in these schools, this cluster of our Roskilde schools that are undertaking this Puketapapa Play project, will go with them as they turn into adolescents and adults, and preferably affects their kids and the way they parent their kids to allow their kids a little bit more license to roam, a little bit more license to play, allowing them to really develop into full human beings. Things have changed. They've changed probably the last 15 or 20 years. When we were kids, growing up in maybe the 60s, 70s, 80s, there was a free-range childhood that was normal. We were able to explore our own limitations and make mistakes and learn from them. But in the last, I'd say 15 years or so, we've moved to a more hyper-parenting culture where it's expected that you oversee your child and everything they do. You manage any exposure to risk and avoid it. And that's come from a good place, but in the end, it doesn't allow the child to really explore their own limitations. Alongside that, of course, we've had the rise of portable screens and portable media, and so that has filled up that time where kids, once upon a time, might have got bored and actually created something and built something and made a boat out of a cardboard box. Things like that don't do so much anymore, and that's really important because it's how the brain develops, right? They need to explore these things and do things a bit differently, try things they've never tried before. They need to fail. They need to actually make mistakes and fall over and hurt themselves sometimes. Not major injuries, but they do actually need to hurt themselves because that's how they learn. We take that away from children, they don't develop that part of their brain. They grow into adults without having that refined ability to process risk. The Puketapapa Play project is a really exciting project. It was funded under the Tū Manawa initiative, and it was a collaboration between 11 local primary schools in the Mount School region, and Sport Auckland was obviously overseeing that. AUT came in to assist with the evaluation, so it's a real collaborative approach. But the overarching theory behind it is that we want to get power in numbers. We want schools to come together in this cluster and try and promote this outdoor free play within their school environment and bounce off each other and use each other as support to try and make this happen. It's not the easiest thing to happen or to make happen within a school because there's a lot of barriers and parents have to be brought alongside that and are on board with that as well. But we've got some really good examples of schools that have taken this on board and run with it, and the experiences the kids are having are really life-changing. So it's really important that we push this out there so people see that this can be done, that bringing schools together in clusters is really powerful, and it's an excellent way of promoting this sort of free play inside schools. The Puketapapa Play project obviously aims to impact the kids and their experiences in the schools to make sure that they have every chance to get outdoors, to experience a bit of managed risk. Obviously that's a key focus, but what's also really important is impacting the teachers and the principals and making sure that they're aware of why we're doing this and why this is an important thing for kids to experience. And that's been really quite rewarding. We've done a lot of interviews with teachers and seeing them come on board and realise actually a lot of it is going back to their own childhood and remembering how they grew up as kids and saying, that's how we really want to do things here in this school, and trying to make it a sustainable method where the teachers drive it and it becomes just what we do here at the school. Parents are another group of people we want to impact because anything that happens in school obviously filters back to parents and almost validates things for parents. So having this approach within schools where we're saying it's okay to allow your child to experience some risk, to climb some trees, to do some extra things which might seem a little dangerous, that can come back and actually change kids' lives at home as well. We're really hoping that this cluster in Puketapapa will be an example for other clusters of schools to follow. It's quite hard sometimes for individual schools to operate in isolation, but when there's a partnership of schools coming together, supporting each other, sharing lessons learned, those sorts of things can be really powerful and really increase the sustainability of these sort of initiatives. From where I am, I'm interested in the scale up of this, so I want to see it go much more national, but this is a first step, I guess, in terms of coming together as a group. Let's see what happens, let's do an evaluation, see how kids are affected, see how the teachers feel about it, and then hopefully when we publish that work, it might spill out into other schools, other clusters who see it and say, hey, we can do this too. But it has to be driven from the schools. It's no good coming along and proclaiming this must be done. It has to be something the schools value and the teachers value and the parents value, because when that happens, that means those things will roll over multiple different generations and multiple years and decades, hopefully, into the future. Well, I mean, Sport Auckland has really great and clear priorities, and play being one of them. That's relatively recent, but it's really great that they're putting funding towards that area and have a strategic priority for play, because it's one of those aspects of kids' lives that is often overlooked. It's seen as something that's just done, that just happens. And that may have been the case, perhaps when we were young, but these days we have to take a much more conscious approach to promote quality play in children, otherwise it just does not happen. It's great Sport Auckland sees that, and I hope they continue to support projects like this. The Puketapapa Play project is a really unique project in New Zealand. In fact, worldwide, there's not many projects like this that are focusing solely on outdoor, unstructured, risky play. And being able to have a research program around it as well that allows us to track outcomes over time. We're hoping that we can show that this is something that's worthwhile and we should be doing more. So I applaud Sport Auckland for recognising that and for actually supporting play. Well, the barriers to allowing this type of risky play in schools, some of it has stemmed from the 2015 Health and Safety Act, which put personal liability on principals and other staff members should their health and safety obligations be neglected. And I think a lot of schools potentially interpreted that as meaning that we can't allow any risk in schools. And there was some media at the time about schools banning tree climbing and so forth. So I think there is this underlying risk aversion philosophy that's filtered down. There is benefits to risk as well, and I think that's what we're trying to promote, is that you can still do your health and safety obligations, still fulfill those, but you can do that using a risk-benefit assessment, which is what is the benefit of these things, not just what is the risk, what is the benefit of climbing a tree? And do those benefits outweigh the risk? One of the things we do, and we're doing it in the Puketapapa Play project, is trying to get teachers and principals to look at it from a risk-benefit perspective rather than a risk avoidance perspective. That act never was out to get schools, and I think that was a misinterpretation that was fairly wide at the time, but even WorkSafe NZ have said, no, it's not about climbing trees. It's more around factories and other sorts of things like that, but yet because schools fall under that workplace sector, they are sort of under that act. That still pervades a lot of discussions when we come up with schools, is what about the act, what about our obligations, and we just have to make sure that people know you can allow kids to experience risk, you can allow them to do risky play, and it doesn't contravene your obligations under the Health and Safety Act.